Hey, house groups, I'm here with my friend Ryan. If you were here on Sunday, you got to hear him teach. Ryan just joined our staff team. He is our first ever church planting resident. He lives in Lakeville. He's looking to start a church in Lakeville sometime in 2026 or 2027. And we have the opportunity to help him learn about church planting and site starting and all that kind of stuff with Aspen Grove. So we're excited to have Ryan. In just a minute, he's going to recap his talk from Sunday. But before we do that, I'm actually throwing a QR code over your face as we speak right now, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Drew.
If you click on the QR code, you are going to be linked to a photo that you can use to invite your friends and your neighbors and your coworkers to our trunk or treat event on Friday, October 24th. I believe really strongly that invitation makes the way for transformation. And it's something small like inviting your friends or your family or your neighbors or your coworkers to this trunk or treat event might be the thing that starts the ball rolling for God to be at work in their life and transform their present and their future. So I'd encourage you to scan the QR code, download the photo, text the photo to your friends and family, and invite them to show up with you for trunk or treat on October 24th. Another thing that I've been doing in these videos every week is just reminding you a little bit about the vision of house groups. One of the things that I think is so important is appropriate vulnerability. For most of us, what that means is sharing more. For some of us, it means holding back a little bit, making sure that we're not the only one that's talking, making sure that we're not sharing things that are somebody else's news to share or being too vulnerable too fast in a group. But most of you grew up in Minnesota or you lived here for a while, and so actually the challenge is probably just to try to be a little bit more vulnerable because God can use that to help us connect with one another, to help us care for one another. So I'd encourage you to be a little bit more vulnerable than you feel comfortable with, and then maybe that 1 out of 100 person to be a little less vulnerable than you feel comfortable with. But you know who you are, and I think that will really help. Ryan, thanks for being in the video with me.
Yeah.
What are some highlights from your talk on Sunday?
Just even as you were mentioning that, Drew, that vulnerability aspect is so key, especially with one of the points that we discussed during the message was don't do things alone. And having the opportunity to have a great group of people in your lives, maybe it's 2 or 3 people that you can have that full level of vulnerability with, that's a foundational piece to being able to have depth in relationships. And so I just would affirm that in moments like this, when you're meeting with other people that maybe you're just beginning or on the front end of relationships, this is a great chance to exercise what the Apostle Paul was encouraging us to do. Be like-minded, be in one spirit with one another, and as we link arms with other believers, really, our joy is going to increase in those processes and in those opportunities for us to express the things that Minnesota Nice can hold us back from. So in that opportunity to share what's going on in your world, a prayer request, that's a great chance to be able to try out that muscle of inviting other people to speak into your life. But also, too, on the flip side of it, maybe less on the struggles element of that, more so on the celebratory things, too. Because in the same heartbeat, we also don't want to come across as arrogant with the things that are going great in our lives, too, but let other people celebrate those with you as well. Sometimes that's even the easier spot to begin the vulnerability areas in your life. And I couldn't think of a better way to live out what the Apostle Paul is encouraging us to do as believers in the church than to do life with other people. So don't go at it alone. The other thought that we talked about extensively was shifting our mindset from an inward focus to an external mindset. And as we do that, just as you mentioned too, this trunk or treat event coming up, invitation, it brings a ground level for transformation to happen so that other people can experience what you already have. And as you are doing that, thinking on this process of who in your life needs an invitation, you never know how far that invite might go in leading to transformation as we're talking about. And so doing so, it might be picking up the phone. So who in your life, maybe this week, outside of house group, could use a joy call or an encouraging text? Maybe it's a handwritten note that just says, I'm thinking about you, praying for you and your family this week. Those things go such a long way, and it takes the focus, the shift off of our own perspective and puts it on others. And reminder, again, this key that we talked about this weekend, is the key to our joy buckets increasing and continuously filling up more and more, is not necessarily thinking about our own. It's thinking about that of others. Just as is written in Philippians chapter 2, each of you thinking to the interests of other people in your lives. That is the secret to shifting our joy away from the focus of ourselves and lifting it up in other people. And in doing so, I just believe that we will see this mindset that Christ Jesus had. We'll talk about it more even next weekend. But this mindset that Christ Jesus had in building other believers up in the way that Paul would want us to do that. And it's rooted in love and humility. And as we do so, I just think that God's going to use that in a profound way, even in our house group moments like this tonight that are taking place, or wherever you're meeting. Could just be really special. So that's my encouragement for you too.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a great conversation, guys.
See ya.